This is from the channel Right Response Ministries, baby.
Do aliens exist? No. I don't know this scientifically. I know it theologically.
Well, then you don't know it at all, do you? You can't know something theologically, because everything that human beings have known theologically in the past has pretty much been proven wrong. Human beings used to know that the earth was the center of the universe, theologically, right? They used to know that God created the rain, theologically. A lot of things have been known theologically, but it turns out that the things that are known theologically are not actually known. They're just kind of made up. So to say that you know aliens don't exist theologically just means that you made something up and you found a Bible verse that you feel like supports it, and then you've moved on from there. And the Bible, being a book entirely of made-up stories, has no weight in an actual arena of scientific evidence. And therefore, I'm not going to watch the rest of this, because I've said what needs to be said right there in the first 3 seconds. Next. Hymn singing at the Georgetown Courthouse. Yeah, that's hideous. I don't care. Next. Calling Caesar to submit to Christ. Well, Caesar's been dead for quite some time, so I don't think he needs the admonition. Hey, if you like this clip, you might like the full stream, which I do every Sunday, more or less, over on the Pessimist Productions Patreon, link down below. Thank you kindly.
I mean, I can tell you, I've said this to a number of Roman
All right, here we go.
Catholics,
Here's something with an actual argument.
You need to understand something. Mary does not have a clue that anyone on this planet has ever tried to pray to her, because it would break her heart.
How would you possibly know that? Assuming that any of these religions, I mean, I agree, Mary doesn't have a clue that anyone's ever tried to pray to her. Neither does God, neither does Jesus, neither do any of these like entities that you've made up. But assuming that any of this stuff was true, how would you possibly know that? How would you possibly have the inside track into whether or not Mary receives prayers and how she would feel about them if she did? I'll wait. I've got to hear this explanation.
And once you are at rest in Christ, the tears are wiped away. You're not up there in heaven suffering.
So there's no explanation. It's just assertion followed by bullshit. Basically, hey, we're not Catholic. We compete with Catholics. So here's something about Catholicism that's wrong. And actually, we got the truth. And we can't explain it because, of course, we made it up and they made it up. And we're both just, it's just two competing bullshit stories. So you might as well just pick the one that's right in front of you, right, folks? That's all that boils down to. What's next?
So the point I'm trying to make here is that perspective has consequences. Your eschatological perspective has consequences. And as Christians form their perspective, they form it by their theology. And what I mean by that is that how we view God will translate into how we actually think and behave in our everyday lives.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with the idea of, you know, sometimes when you're an avowed atheist, when you're aggressively atheistic, people will come to you like, come on, man. Just let them have it. Let them have their comfort, you know. They need it. It helps them out with their life. But what this guy said is the perfect refutation of that, because it's not just like helping them with life. It is brainwashing them. It is making them susceptible to certain regressive and hate-filled ideologies. It's making them easily exploitable by grifting like this guy, whoever he is. I guess Dale Partridge. Never heard of him. Don't care to hear anything about him in the future. But all these grifters and lowlives that just want to exploit people and manipulate people and suck them dry, suck all their money out, and make them devote themselves to some guilt-filled, miserable lifestyle. These people are scum, and it's like religion doesn't help people. Religion doesn't help people, This idea that it does is a false notion. No one is helped by exploitation. No one is helped by being lied to. That is bullshit. Everyone is better off knowing and reacting to the truth of the world, not living in a fairy tale because the truth is scary, okay? There's no one who's better off living the fable, living the fairy tale, living the bullshit story, because when you got a bullshit story, guess what? It attracts exploitative bullshitters who are there to do nothing more than scam people, to control people, to siphon the money out of people's pockets and into their own. And that's why all of these preachers and pastors are driving new cars and living in big houses, and why they surround themselves with opulence and prosperity while their flock live in trailers and, bullshit. And even those with a prosperous flock, they're still getting tons of money out of them, It's just some people have enough money to waste on religion and some people don't.
We can never, as Calvinists, say, well, if they're going to get saved, they're going to get saved. No, God has ordained the ends as well as the means.
Then shut up. If it's all predetermined and it's all going to pan out how it pans out, regardless of any of our actions, then shut your fucking mouth and go away and never talk to anyone about it again. Of course they're not going to do that. While these people are religiously going out there trying to convert people, they're like, at the end of the day, God decides who's Christian, God decides who's not. Well, if God decides, then you don't decide. So leave me alone. Don't waste my time.
God's law was used by the early church to critique pagan thought, pagan social order. And as Christians began to engage with classical Roman law, successive Christianized emperors began to reform the law in terms of the Bible and the teaching of the church. If you say that to the modern congregation in the West, shock, horror, no, keep politics out of the pulpit. But if you keep politics out of the pulpit, all you end up with is a politicized church.
Well, the churches are already politicized. The churches already are political. And that's why they should be taxed like any other institution. Tax the churches. The entire reason that they have tax-exempt status in the first place is they're supposed to be apolitical, but inherently Christianity isn't capable of being apolitical. So why give them tax deferment? Make them pay taxes. How much money does the United States lose out on every year because we refuse to tax these churches? I mean, this is the ultimate scam. This is a grifter's paradise. It's like George Carlin said, these guys have got the ultimate bullshit story. They pay no taxes. They don't have to prove anything. And any of the rewards that you're going to reap for following them come after you die. So no one can see the prize. No one gets to experience the prize until they're conveniently dead and can no longer attest to anything. And they don't pay taxes. And they can say whatever they want, and they can do whatever they want, and they can be as political as they want. And, at the end of the day, I don't think we can stop churches from being political, but we can stop granting them tax exemption. We can start taxing these and we can start putting some of that money to actual good causes. Because most of these churches, some of them do nice things, don't get me wrong. Some of them feed the hungry, some of them clothe the indigent, some of them visit the sick and all that stuff and support the community, blah, 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 blah. Some of these churches do some nice things, but you know what? A lot of them don't. And even the ones that don't do it nearly as much as they could or as they should. So I say, take that money from the churches and go do good with it. Go do the good that they claim they're going to do with it, because the government is actually accountable. And I know that sounds ridiculous because, of course, we're very used to our government feeling very unaccountable, but at least there is some process for redressing grievances with the government. At least there is some process of looking at what they've spent money on and being like, hey, no. And maybe you can vote for a different guy. Or maybe you can vote for a different person that's going to do something a little different. Now, in practice, that has been largely subverted, but at least there's something. With these churches, there's nothing. They can take in as much money as they want and they can claim it's for any reason they want, and then they can do whatever they want with it, and there's no accountability. There's no one investigating them for fraud. There's no one doing any of that stuff. So, yeah, I would much rather this money be in the hands of the government than in the hands of the church. Now, hopefully it would be in the hands of a competent government that's actually accountable to the people, but that would be the next step. Right now, I would rather have it in our shitty government than our ultra shitty churches.
The very presence of the doctrine of adoption, that God adopts us as his children, what that assumes...
Wait, what? Okay, well, let me see where he's going with it before I criticize.
Is that we start this life as those who are not his children.
Okay.
The Bible does not teach the universal fatherhood of God. The Bible teaches the universal creatorhood of God.
So God has to adopt you. So you got to impress God. But earlier in one of these, we already heard God already has decided who's getting saved and who isn't. So God has already pre-selected who is worthy of being adopted by him and who isn't. So there's nothing you can really do about it. So you might as well just kick back. That's what I get from that.
Any government that is not upon the shoulders of Christ will ultimately crumble.
All governments crumble. Every government in all of human history has crumbled, including ones that were on the shoulders of Christ. It turns out that whether a government is Christian or not has very little to do with whether or not it succeeds or fails. Plenty of Christian governments have failed.
Dun, 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 dun. Uh-oh. I received an early copy of The Case for Christian Nationalism by Stephen Wolfe, who, by the way, is going to be coming on our show, Theology Applied, in just a few weeks, so be on the lookout. Now, what does it mean that I've received not just a copy, but an early copy? Well, it means at least two things. The first one, I don't want to breeze over too quickly. It means that I'm cooler than you. And we need to just sit and feel that for a moment. But secondly, apparently it means that I'm a racist and a bigot. Now, some of you might be thinking,
I mean, I don't know if you're a racist and a bigot, and I don't really care. The fact of the matter is, you're a Christian nationalist, and that's enough for me in and of itself. The idea that our nation should be inherently Christian, that we should tether our fates to an irrational doctrine that can't be proven and is not empirically verifiable in any way, shape, or form, that alone is enough for me to say, fuck you, sir. Whether you are racist or sexist or whatever your personal fucking bigotries are, matters very little. Because you probably believe the earth is 6,000 years old. You probably believe in talking snakes and talking donkeys. I don't want you running my fucking country, bitch. And you know what? If you try, I will stop you. Not with the power of God, but with the power of fucking man, bitch. And if I can't stop you, you can be goddamn well sure that I will try to stop you. I will fucking leave at least one welt on that ass before you and the Christian horde bury me up to my fucking neck and stone me to death. You weird fucking botched Matt Walsh clone, as Hans Limburger in the chat has fucking pointed out. Or maybe Matt Walsh is a botched clone of this guy. Who knows? They both look pretty botched to me.
So Lord, I pray that we would get that deep in our bones. Whether we're Calvinist or Arminian, whether we're post-mill or pre-mill or all-mill or something in between, that what we would all agree on as the evangelical church in America, and especially right here in our city, that we would all agree that the Bible speaks to all of life. So Lord...
No. Nope. I can't even tell you what I want to say right now. I can't even say the words that I want to say right now. Do I have a bleeper? Nope. Where's my bleep? Yeah, there it is. I will say it, and you can try to lip read it.
I think hamburgers and cheeseburgers work well with fries.
I hope that wasn't even remotely audible over the beep. I hope the beep just totally ducked that, because I shouldn't have said that, but I had to at least say it. But it needed to be said, okay?